the civilization we were never taught about. Why is it that in school, we hear endless stories about Egypt and Greece but almost nothing about the Sumerians? A people who lived thousands of years before the pyramids yet gave us the wheel, maps, canals, beer, even the very first written words. They built cities when most of the world was still hunting and gathering and left behind records that tell a story unlike anything you've ever heard. A story of gods who came from the sky. Of knowledge so advanced it shouldn't have existed. And of a secret that could change everything we think we know about where we come from. This is not just history, it's a doorway into something far stranger. I'm your host and this is the Silent Era. The Sumerians' astonishing legacy. Long before the pharaohs raised their first pyramid, before the Greeks carved their first temple, the Sumerians were already shaping the world. They mapped the stars and the land beneath their feet, carved canals that turned deserts into farmland, and built cities with streets, markets, and laws. They created the first lunar calendar, brewed over 500 recipes of beer, wore makeup and jewelry centuries before Cleopatra was even a name. And their most powerful creation? Writing the first permanent record of human thought. It's as if they appeared from nowhere, already armed with knowledge it should have taken humanity thousands of years to discover. Yet today they are barely a footnote in our history books. Why? Where did this sudden burst of civilization come from? And could the answer be hidden in the story of gods who came from the sky? The plates that changed history. In 1949, deep in the ancient soil of what was once Sumer, British archaeologists uncovered something extraordinary: 14 clay plates, each etched with symbols older than most written history. They were dated to the 24th century BC, yet their words told a story far older. A story that began much like the book of Genesis, a creation of man, a paradise, and beings who shaped the earth. But then the story split from anything you've ever heard. These were not angels. They were not spirits. The plate spoke of beings who came down from the sky in ships that blazed like fire, altering the very code of human life. They claimed humanity was not an accident of nature but the result of deliberate design. The Sumerians had a name for them, a name that echoes through myth and legend even today. The Anunnaki, those who came from heaven to earth. Who were the Anunnaki? The Sumerians described them simply: those who came from heaven to earth. According to their records, the Anunnaki were not from this world. They came from a distant planet called Nibiru, a colossal world that swings into our solar system only once every 3,600 years. Once, Nibiru was like Earth: blue oceans, green lands, thriving life. But its atmosphere began to collapse, torn apart by its own people's mistakes. The only way to save it was gold. Not for wealth. Not for decoration. But because, when broken into nanoparticles, gold could repair and shield an atmosphere, just as modern science confirms today. Even NASA uses thin layers of gold to shield spacecraft from deadly radiation. A technology we've only perfected in recent decades, yet somehow, the Sumerians wrote about it thousands of years ago. So the Anunnaki left their dying home and came to Earth, a world rich in the very resource they needed. But their arrival was only the beginning, because the price of saving their world would forever change ours. Giants, gold, and the tomb in the desert. In the blistering heat of the Iraqi desert, archaeologists made a discovery that defied belief: a hidden tomb, untouched for thousands of years. Inside lay treasures of pure gold, fit for a king. But at the center was something even more astonishing. A black stone sarcophagus, covered in Sumerian inscriptions. And within it the preserved body of a giant over 3 meters tall. Its skin was pale, its features almost human, yet somehow not. Gold jewelry covered its body, as if marking its royal or divine status. To many, this was more than just a burial. It was a direct link to the ancient stories of the Nephilim, the giants born from the union of gods and humans, described in the Bible and the Book of Enoch. Ancient texts place these beings in sacred locations, none more mysterious than Mount Hermon, the so-called cosmic mountain, said to connect heaven and earth, and once considered the very dwelling place of the gods. Gold mines and the slave revolt. The Anunnaki didn't come to Earth for conquest, they came for work. In the ancient city of Eridu, Earth Station 1, their leader Enki oversaw vast gold mining operations in the Persian Gulf and beyond. At first, they didn't mine the gold themselves. They created a worker race, the Igigi, to toil deep underground, hauling the precious metal to the surface. For centuries, the Igigi obeyed. But endless labor under harsh conditions bred resentment. The records say the day came when they laid down their tools and rose up against their masters. The revolt was swift and doomed. The Anunnaki crushed them without mercy, erasing almost their entire race. But this left the gods with a problem: no workforce to save their dying world. Enki was given a new task: create a replacement. A being intelligent enough to follow orders, yet obedient enough never to rebel. Through countless genetic experiments, he succeeded merging the DNA of the primitive humans of Earth with that of the Anunnaki. The result was Adamo. In time, we would call them something else: Homo sapiens. Teaching humanity and breaking the rules. The creation of Adamo was only the beginning. Once the new humans proved they could work the mines, the Anunnaki began teaching them far more than simple labor required. They learned to plant and harvest crops, to measure the stars, to heal the sick. Skills that would one day become the foundations of civilization. But with knowledge came something dangerous: curiosity. Some of the Anunnaki broke the most sacred law of all. They took human women as partners, and from these forbidden unions came children beings the ancient texts call the Nephilim. They were giants, warriors, and rulers too strong, too intelligent, and too independent for Enlil's liking. Enlil, the brother of Enki and the chief among the gods, saw what was happening and feared it. Humans, he realized, could one day rise to challenge the very beings who had created them. And in his eyes that could not be allowed. The Great Flood. Then the sky changed. According to the Sumerian records, the great planet Nibiru began its return, sweeping back into the inner solar system on its 3,600-year orbit. Its passage unleashed chaos. The sun's surface darkened with strange black spots. Earth's magnetic shield weakened. Glacier at the poles cracked and collapsed, sending walls of water racing across the seas. Storms roared for days. Tsunamis swallowed entire coastlines. Cities vanished beneath the waves. To Enlil, it was an opportunity, a chance to wipe away the humans before they grew too powerful. But not all the gods agreed. Enki, who had shaped humanity with his own hands, could not watch them be erased. In secret, he chose a man, a leader, and gave him a warning. He told him to build a vessel large enough to save his family, and the seeds of life itself. We know him today as Noah. But his story of surviving 40 days and nights of relentless rain is not unique. From Mesopotamia to India, from South America to the Pacific Islands, ancient cultures tell the same tale: a great flood and the few who escaped it. After the waters. When the waters finally receded, the world was unrecognizable. The great cities of the past were gone, buried beneath mud and silt. Only a handful of survivors remained, scattered across the highlands. It was then, the Sumerian records say, that the Anunnaki returned to guide the rebuilding. They taught the survivors to raise cities once more, not at random, but aligned perfectly with the stars, as if mirroring something in the heavens. From these survivors, they chose rulers, kings whose bloodlines were said to be enhanced with the genes of the gods. These kings acted as the Anunnaki's voice on earth, ruling with divine authority. And almost overnight, a golden age began. Agriculture flourished. Trade routes stretched across continents. Mathematics, medicine, and astronomy advanced at an impossible pace. To the outside world, it looked as if civilization had risen from nothing. But to those who knew the truth, it was the work of the gods who had once walked among them. Departure and legacy. Then as suddenly as they had returned, they were gone. Around 6,000 years ago, the Sumerian texts describe a mass departure of the Anunnaki. No battle. No warning. Just a quiet exodus, leaving humanity to stand on its own. But they did not leave us empty-handed. They left behind knowledge advanced and precise, woven into myths, monuments, and manuscripts. The Babylonian creation epic, Enuma Elish, detailed the formation of the solar system in ways that modern science would not confirm until thousands of years later. Ancient star maps showed planets invisible to the naked eye, including Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all drawn with perfect accuracy millennia before the first telescope. They left artifacts whose purpose still baffles scientists: mysterious batteries, precise stone carvings, and mechanical devices far ahead of their time. How could a civilization just emerging from the Stone Age know the layout of the solar system? How could they describe it so perfectly unless someone had shown them? Bloodlines and the return. Some believe the Anunnaki never truly left. That the royal bloodlines they created enhanced with their own genetics were designed to guide humanity or control it across the ages. These bloodlines still rule in shadows, their influence hidden in plain sight. And according to the ancient texts, their reign is not over, only paused. Because when Nibiru returns on its long, fated orbit, so will they. If that day comes, they may not return as teachers but as rulers reclaiming what they believe is theirs. And perhaps the signs of their return are already here. I'm your host. This is the Silent Era, and the truth is still out there waiting to be uncovered.